Hello nightmares, and welcome back to another video. For today's video, I plan, long story short, to explain to you guys the last year, and give you a general summary of what the last year of my life has looked like, and give you an honest view into my world, because I've seen a lot of comments. I read every single comment you guys put on my post, and some of them don't make it to the post because I review them. Some of them are very offensive, some of them are cruel, I'll admit, but some of them hit a nerve recently. And the one that hits the nerve, I think the most for me, is that I miss your old content. I miss the old you. I miss, you know, who you were before. Your content before was better. The content you put out now is garbage. You know, why do you continue to put out content if you don't care about it anymore? Well, long story short, I really do care about the content I put out. And that's why I don't put it out very often, because I don't just want to put out mindless, senseless, garbage. I want to put out something that I feel is worth sharing. And if it's not worth sharing, well, there's 1,000,000,001 mindless videos on the internet of people who are just posting to post. I post when I feel like it's worth sharing. Otherwise, I don't waste my time. Because truthfully, when I made this channel a few years back, I made it as a coping mechanism because my life was falling apart. I was at the tail end of a failing marriage. I will not go into much detail with that, but it was doomed. And at the end of my marriage, I was only home to work. So some of you all remember the old house with the purple lights on the inside and my bookshelf in the background and my cat Constantine and my old life. You remember seeing that. You remember the TikTok live streams, and you remember me sitting hours at a time with you guys just all throughout the night on my days off. And a lot of you asked when I said I'm, married, a lot of you had asked, where is he? Where is he? That was because he would hide upstairs from me in one room in the bathroom. And he struggled with addiction, and at the end of it all, there was nothing I could do to fix it because that was the choice that was made. And it is what it is. I moved across the country. I lived with my grandfather in my old childhood room that some of you had seen when I went to visit my grandfather on Christmas alone. He stayed, and he chose substance, and I came home from that vacation to him overdosed in bed. And I had to call for help after getting off of 3 flights and no sleep for 24 hours. And I sat in the hospital with him, and they, Narcaned him and brought him back and all that fun stuff. And after 10 hours of sitting in the hospital, when I bring him home, the only thing he can say to me was that he thought I was a failure of a woman because I cannot have children, and that, he always wanted kids. And I was like, okay, well, that's what you want, and I cannot give you, so I will leave. And I left, plain and simple. So things got really ugly, and I was homeless for about 3 months while I was waiting for the keys to my new apartment. And some of you remember my old apartment. I filmed a few videos there. I only really lived at my old apartment for about 3 months, and then everything just encaved and imploded. And I called things off, separated, all that stuff, and we were done. That was it. Haven't heard anything since. That's dead in the water. It's over with me and that person, and I have respect. I'm not gonna, make their life any harder. I'm not gonna really say anything more other than it's over and the choices that were made. I'm not gonna cry over it. I've done that enough. I feel nothing about it. I'm indifferent. It is what it is. My friends were there for me. They helped me pack up all my stuff, helped me in every way that they possibly could, and I had a really good support system. And, you know, I did get in a new relationship with my lovely other half, Deshaun, who is my rock. I mean, I didn't think in this world anybody could understand me the way he does. He gets me through the hardest of things that I never had support on. This is my moral compass. That is my guide. If I need anything, he is right there with the solution. And I've never been more blessed in my life to have somebody who just cares so much. Well, Deshaun comes into play right about this part of the story. So, needless to say, the job I worked for, I did some management overnight. I was the manager of this call center overnight. And I was getting underpaid and overworked, and I was so stressed. I had a mental breakdown. I wasn't eating, I wasn't sleeping. I was on call 24/7, 7 days a week. I didn't have a day off. When I did have a day off, I had to bring, and you can ask some of my friends about this, I had to bring my work. So I would have to sit while all my friends are hanging out, you know, and I'm sitting in a room with my friends, and I have my desk phone and my laptop and my iPad and my notebook, and we'll all be talking and laughing, and a call comes through, and I have to shh everybody, and they're just looking at me like, this is ridiculous. And I had decided that this kind of work was killing me because I was socially isolated. Basically paying rent was like paying for an office and a prison all in one, and I was miserable. And, you know, I jumped ship from that, and I was like, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore. And I was like, you know, just so beside myself. And my cheese slid off my cracker. And, well, it's real hard when you have a mental health crisis and there's just nobody around you, and nobody believes that you're really actually suffering and struggling, and they think it's a joke, and they tell you, oh, you're so resilient, you know, you're so strong, you'll be fine, you're okay. I was not fine, I was not okay. At the very end of it all, I was giving things away out of my apartment because I didn't plan on being here any longer. This was my career of 5 years, and nobody believed me. No one believed I was struggling. And I told everybody that, you know, my life feels like it's burning around me, and I don't have any means to put it out. Like I couldn't see a future at that point. I invite my friends over, and I'm giving them all the food out of my fridge and giving away things that I worked so hard for. And all they say is thank you. They don't ask, why are you doing this? And that night, this was right before I was about to move here, you know, because like me and Deshaun, we were long distance, and I'd flown out, you know, to visit him. And, you know, this was real early in our relationship, so like, he barely knew me. We were only together for a few months, and I had only spent like a month of those few months with him in person. And, you know, his family had told me about like the warehouse work, and I got into that. And now, all this time later, I work in a warehouse. Peak season is what I'm in the middle of, and that's another reason why I'm just really not bothering with content right now, because I'm exhausted. I work 12-hour days, and I am throwing hundreds of pounds of boxes all day. And and I'm burnt out. But, you know, I have this other job lined up. I have everything set up. I put everything I had in a storage unit. I broke my lease and quit my old job. And I just was like, if the universe doesn't have me here, then it's time, you know, like I'm not gonna keep doing this. I can't keep living. But thankfully, you know, I pulled through, and Deshaun, you know, he was there for me, and he swooped in and was like, I got you, you know, you're not going to be homeless. I'm not going to let you go through that. Like, at the time, originally, I was just quitting my job without a plan. Like, I was just like, I'll figure it out or I'll live with family. I just couldn't keep doing that. Like, 4 or 5 years of just that. 7-day weeks. Sometimes I would be on that phone all day, and I can still remember the script I'd have to read every day. I could hear the phone ring in my head, and I don't know if job PTSD is real, but I think it was there. I was just like, oh my god, this is horrific. I can't keep doing this. And yeah, no, so I come here, and at the time we were living with Dijon's other family. They turned out to be really toxic, really, really bad, and things got rough, and now we live with other family of Deshaun's while we're saving and planning on, you know, getting a car and this, that, and the other. And now fast forward a few months, you know, everything's pretty steady, everything's going good. You know, this is just a few months ago. I'm out walking the neighborhood after work one day, so me and Deshaun, after we get off work, you know, we go for a walk to wind down, because, you know, physical movement's real good for, you know, when you do like a lot of heavy lifting and stuff, it just it relaxes the body, you know, to stretch it out in a way you don't normally move all day. And the job I do, it's a lot of repetition. It's a lot of the same movements, and at the end of the day, I'm so stiff and sore and just tired. So we're walking the neighborhood, and we see a car we haven't normally seen before, you know. And mind you, the story I'm telling you, everything is just a condensed version, because I'm like not one of those people who's gonna make you sit and listen to my ranting for an hour, you know. But so we see a car we haven't seen before, and, you know, I look at Deshaun, he looks at me, and we're on the correct side of the road. They zoom past us, try to hit us with their car. And Deshaun's like, what is happening? And I look over at him, and I'm like, they're circling back. These people circled back around, went on the wrong side of the road to try and come down and hit us again. And the next thing I know, they're pulled off to the side, because I'm standing in someone's yard at this point, and I'm like, what is happening? Like, what is wrong? Like, do I know you? And next thing I know, I have a gun pointed in my head. And, you know, when they say that your life flashes before your eyes when you're in a situation like that, I thought that was a joke until actually experiencing it. But I tell you, having to just go about my life after that, for like a week after, I was messed up. Like, I cried like a little baby. I never had something like that happen to me in my entire life, ever. And I've always, you know, presented myself the way I am. I wasn't even wearing makeup that day. I wasn't dressed up, nothing. I just got off work. So did he. But Deshaun, you know, he's freaking out because this guy has a gun pointed at my head, and he tells me, he just looks at me, and I can even, like, I have the paperwork. I'm still waiting because I have to appear in court, and I'm still waiting, you know, for the court date for that. He tells me that he ought to just put a bullet in my head just because. So finally his buddy taps his shoulder, and he pulls the gun back in, and I get a picture of his license plate. I call the police, and they find him, they arrest him, and the guy who put a gun to my head, his name was Jose Cabrera Cruz. And his buddy is Dylan Kraut. And do I have a problem name dropping these people? Absolutely not. They didn't have a problem assaulting me. They didn't have a problem assaulting Deshaun. So no, I don't have a problem. They didn't have a problem when they did that to me, so I have no problem saying who they are. And that was a few months ago. And then, then after that, I find out my grandfather, my only parent, my rock, my best friend in the whole wide world, has cancer. And now, when we first found out Gramps had cancer, it was like someone just took my life and I was like, boy, if things couldn't get worse, they absolutely can. I will tell you this, that hell has a basement. Hell has a basement, and I have found it, and I have explored it, and it is a terrible place to be. So I found out my Gramps had cancer. He had skin cancer. He had to get 3 different surgeries. He had to get part of his ear removed entirely. He had to get a place removed here and a place removed here. And with my job, I had to go to my job and be like, I went to HR and I was like, I need, my schedule adjusted for a month because I have to fly across from down where I live in the South all the way up to Missouri, where my grandfather lives. And the lady at HR tells me to bump myself down to part-time. What she didn't tell me is that I could have put in for a hardship adjustment where you, for a month, have an adjusted schedule. She didn't tell me I could do that. She misinformed me. So I accepted the transfer to go down to part-time. And then that month, they cut hours entirely. There was no hours. I was working maybe 10 hours a week. And I spent the last month starving, miserable. The only money I had extra was money from, the videos I do post. Sometimes I get an extra $100 every couple months. And that was how I survived all of last month. And then I keep putting in to go back to full-time, but because of peak season and they hired a bunch of temporary hires, they're not accepting anybody for full-time until after the first of the year when the blackout period's over. So all of this stuff happens all at once, it feels like, and now it's real hard to focus on content when you got all these things going on. I mean, the biggest pressing issue I have right now is I have $11,000 of debt I have to pay off because of my ex. After I moved out, or somebody living in the house now, my old house that I can't even go to, I think probably his mother or somebody took my social security card, anything they found with my social on it, and they took out credit cards in my name. I'm $11,000 in debt, and I'm paying that off. Meanwhile, I pay $300 a week to go to work. Meanwhile, I have bills of my own, and I have all this stuff going on, and I'm so beside myself. And this is just the reality of life, that I think I'm making this video to show that you can put these comments out, but you really don't know what somebody's going through. And you really don't know what their life is like while you're saying, I miss your old content, or the content you put out sucks now. Has anybody who's put those comments out ever stopped to consider that this could be somebody's reality? It could be your reality. It could be the person next to you's reality, and you never really know. Because that's life. You never really know till you don't. Till you do. However you want to put it. Now, I'm really grateful for everything I do have. While I may not have a lot, I have a roof over my head. I have a partner who has my back no matter what. I have Mr. Kevin. And, I've got Deshaun's family. And thankfully, my grandfather is doing great. He had his surgeries. He's pulled through, and he's still here with me today. And while things were really scary for a bit, he's great. And I do want to give a special thanks to everybody who did donate for his GoFundMe. And I really do appreciate that you guys did that. That was like the awesomest thing, that anybody helped at all, and it definitely did help him out. And he was really grateful for every donation that came through, and for the people who in person had came by and given him food and, you know, been there for him and helped him out. So as a special thanks from me to you for caring about my family and about me enough to help my family. So with that being said, that is a brief summary of the last year of my life. And this, I think, is the only video I'm going to make addressing really any of these subjects, but I did want to give you guys kind of a little, you know, glimpse into what it's been like being me for the last year. And I'm not sure if this content even will be monetized because of the subject of some of, you know, things I had to say. You know, I'm just being real with you. I don't care if it's monetized or not, truthfully. I'm a real person. I'm not a bot. I'm not anything of that sort. I'm real, and these are real struggles I think that people, you know, like especially my audience, do need to know about. So I hope you guys have a good day, good night, good week, and as always, I'll see you in the next one. Sweet dreams.